Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this week, back with the all-time greats segment on the show. And we're going to be talking about who I believe is the greatest cinematographer of all time. And nobody will tell me any different. That is Roger Deakins. And I have my friend Foster, frequent collaborator, here to talk about the Deakins. Foster, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for bringing me on.
And the fact that it took this man how many nominations to win an Oscar is a travesty.
Too many.
Too many. But Foster, what's your first reason why Roger Deakins is one of the all-time great cinematographers?
Well, I think maybe just the variety. It's
Mm-hmm.
he has some sort of signature looks, I think, to him. Like he does a lot of things in silhouette. And he does have like kind of a like when you see like Empire of Light last year, which I didn't like that movie, but
Mm-hmm.
like you can tell instantly, you're like, yeah, this is Deakins.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's done sci-fi, he's done small scale dramas, he's done westerns, he's done a James Bond movie, he's really just done it all.
And it
And
was the best looking one.
of course, like he did a Shyamalan movie. Like, I mean, I'm just like I have his page open in front of me and just staring at it all in a row. It's pretty wild. And I don't know if there's anybody who really touches him as far as like variety is concerned.
What's so interesting is even just his work with the Coen brothers, he's done so many different kinds of films. But
Hmm.
then, like, this is the man who did Shawshank, like, he did Skyfall, which is an absolutely gorgeous film, flexing with like 1917, finally winning an
Yeah.
Oscar for Blade Runner 2049. They're all different kinds of films, and it's always very distinctly him. You can tell it's him, but he does bring what's needed to each of those kinds of films out. So 100%, he certainly has plenty of variety. But what's your next point?
Maybe also just how he evolves through the years. Like the earliest ones on here that I've seen from him are 1984 and Sid and Nancy, both of which look incredible. I haven't seen all of his like 80s, 90s work. There's like even a couple of those early Coens that I'm missing. Like I still have not seen Barton Fink or Hudsucker Proxy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Sid and Nancy is like one of the sneakiest, like most amazing looking movies ever. Like even just the one on the poster where they're in front of the dumpster, or there's one
Yeah,
where he's walking down New York City. It's really incredible. And 1984 is just perfect. And honestly, like that movie pretty much defines how we think of the way dystopias should look now. But then like once you get into the 90s and you get to the dramas like the Shawshanks and Fargos and all that, um, you do see a little bit of an evolution. And then I think it's somewhere around, I might even pinpoint it with I don't know, maybe Oh Brother, Where Art Thou or The Village, like somewhere in that range where he starts to go like dial it up to 11 and it's just
mm-hmm.
like Deakins as we know it now. And then I think the one that puts it over the edge is Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. It's probably like one of the best looking movies ever made. It's that train
Absolutely.
sequence, especially.
Yeah. It's an interesting evolution too, because as somebody who absolutely loves the Coen brothers, they're my favorite directors. Having Barry Sonnenfeld as the original cinematographer, and you watch like Raising Arizona is like
Hmm.
the most Sonnenfeld Coen Brothers movie you're gonna watch.
Hmm.
Just the exaggerated everything about it, and you get that feel when Sonnenfeld started making his own films with the Addams Family and Men in Black. But it's Barton Fink, which is one of my top five favorite Coen Brothers films. That just everything changes. There's such a distinct look, a crisp look. Everything seems so intentional and impactful. And yet his evolution, like he's grown so much as a cinematographer. And I think it's probably Shawshank and Fargo that really like put him on the map
Yeah.
with those two films, especially like you look at Shawshank, there's just something beautiful about the film. And obviously he's just kept going and evolving and challenging himself with I feel like he should have won well before it, but I feel
Yeah.
like Blade Runner 2049 is one of his biggest challenges. And I
Hmm.
think that's one of the reasons why he probably finally won, was because that's such a towering film with so much to squeeze into every frame, and he did such a miraculous job with it. And the 1917 is just him showing off, like ridiculously just showing off. And of course, he got another one. But
Hmm.
Foster, do you have another reason that you want to throw out there?
Sure, just like iconic images. Like I don't know if there's another cinematographer who's made as many shots that I just remember in my head. I mean, like the end of Shawshank alone, with the arms outstretched in the rain, would be
Yep.
enough for like any person's career. But like Fargo has a million. I'm thinking of the one. I think it's like a parking lot, and it's like this overhead shot, and they're
Yes.
really tiny. That's a great one that I love.
And then you
Or
have him struggling to try to get the ice off the car in this really awkwardly funny moment. Absolutely.
yeah, or even in the village, like the creature as it walks by. There's a great one there.
Yes.
The train station in Assassination of Jesse James. Serious Man is an amazing looking movie. That's like
Yes.
a you're like expecting just a drama and you're like taken aback just by the look of it. Skyfall when he's in, I want to say Hong Kong. Is that where that scene takes place?
I feel like it's Soul, but I'm not
Okay.
positive.
I'm
But
also not
that
a
that
Bond person.
assassinate him trying to break up that assassination. Oh my
Yeah,
God, the neon lights and everything. It's
exactly.
something insane. Such a beautiful oh, and then the whole entire with Skyfall burning in the background and them going
Sure.
across that field and everything. Nobody can capture nighttime with fire better than Roger Deakins. Because even
Exactly.
think of like 1917 with that burning city. Just oh my god, that works. This man shot Rango like, and Rango is a beautifully shot film, and like even something like In Time,
Hmm.
he's the best part of In Time. Him and Cillian Murphy, I guess, but like
Sure.
it looks amazing because it's Deakins. But just to throw a couple else at like Prisoners,
Yeah, oh, of course.
that that lingering shot on the tree,
Hmm.
and you don't know at first, you don't know why he's just lingering on a tree, but then you realize why he's lingering on that tree and what's going on at that point, because
Hmm.
everything starts to go silent. You don't see little girls playing anymore, and you're just like,
Yep.
a singular shot of a tree should not be that tense. But between him and Denis Villeneuve, it really works that way. Sicario, just
Yeah.
that shot of her in the shower and just like
Hmm.
trying to wash all that filth off. Just everything in like Blade Runner 2049. Oh my god, every single shot, like that shot of him walking to Las Vegas, which is the orange glow of everything. I think probably this might be seem like an odd choice, but I think my favorite in terms of like just the sheer amount of amazing shots in it is True Grit.
Okay.
That shot, there's just something about Jeff Bridges as Rooster Cogburn sitting on top of his horse and pointing a gun down. There's just like it's such a perfect shot, and there's so many amazing shots. Like that push-in shot at Cheney for the first time when you see him, and it's just like, oh crap,
Hmm.
it's him. And just so many things work, and just even there's no reason why films like Lady Killers and Intolerable Cruelty should look so amazing.
Hmm.
But like it's Deakins. They're top tier Coens, but they still look beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as The Village, where it's like but Shyamalan gets these crazy, incredible cinematographers for pretty much all his movies, and
Yeah,
I mean, it's half the reason why I would defend that movie is because it just looks like so incredible.
looks
Um,
amazing. Absolutely amazing.
yeah, one other point then that I'd bring up, like I think in the past like 5 years, he's just like God tier level now. Like when
Mhm.
he's doing Blade Runner 2049 and 1917, he's just like I don't even understand it. But I think one thing that just makes him so good is he doesn't always feel the need to show off. So Prisoners is like a top five movie for me, like you just said.
Mhm.
Or I think Doubt's another good example where
Yes.
like a serious man, he's still like showing off a little bit and creating these absolutely incredible iconic images. But like Doubt is really low key. It's not trying to show off to you or anything. It's more like about the mood, and the tension between the actors, and like the ability to kind of restrain yourself when you know that you can literally do anything with the camera is pretty incredible too.
Yeah, and also I lied. No Country for Old Men certainly has the most shots for me that are just absolutely iconic.
Sure.
The whole entire movie is just shot to perfection. But yeah, it's such an interesting range of films in terms of like he did films like The Reader and Revolution. He did Doubt, The Reader, and Revolutionary Road all in a row.
Yeah.
And they're all the same year, came out the same year. And it's just something that it's a lot more reserved, but still beautiful in ways that just every single film shot by him is going to look gorgeous no matter what the quality of the film is.
Hmm.
And like something like you said, those couple of films and just looking through his filmography here, like even like House of Sand and Fog, stuff like that just looks so great, even if they're not going big.
Yeah. Or like Big Lebowski, where it's just the vibe is completely different. So like even his Coen brothers movies don't look the same. But
Mhm.
they're like incredibly shot, like the stuff at
He
the bowling
shot
alley.
gutter balls. One of the greatest scenes in the history of cinema.
I think Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I can't remember where I saw this, some documentary, but I think it, or just maybe like a post online. It's one of the early movies, I think, to play around with color grading. And so it has that kind of like South, filter
Yeah.
over it, but it looks incredible. Like it doesn't look like cheap. So like they went like frame by frame and really messed with it in a good way, I think.
Well, I think that's a big point to point out for Deakins is he revolutionized film.
Hmm.
Like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That whole entire film's a gorgeous green vista
Yeah.
in actual film. And then, like you said, they had to go back and post and regrade every single shot of the film to capture that like dried out yellow orangey kind of like southern dusty feel where it seems like it's perpetually like autumn
Hmm.
all the time, despite the fact that it was like spring, just green everything. And it's that film's absolutely gorgeous because it captures the depression. It captured like the Great Depression taking
Yeah.
place during the Great Depression and everything. It just captures that mood simply by changing the color grading of the film. And that's
Hmm.
a lot being able to
Yeah.
do that. And him being able to, I think one of my big points is him messing around with color because when he did The Man Who Wasn't There,
Mm.
this black and white film. I want to see him do more black and white films because that film is gorgeous. It's probably one of the most forgotten of the Coen brothers films, but like, oh my god, it's absolutely gorgeous. And just the way, like, I think there's a bar sequence in it with lighting and smoke and everything. And it looks like some of the most gorgeous contrast of just black and white on screen and him being able to do that and you know a lot everything feels rich, like
Hmm.
these rich colors. And when you have a film like Blade Runner 2049 when it really uses them, it just pops on screen.
Yeah.
And obviously he had to do a lot of the same stuff he did with Oh Brother on Blade Runner 2049 because let's be real here, they weren't actually walking through a giant cloud of orange. They didn't shoot in New Jersey a couple months back when Canada flames from Canada, like smoke was just rolling in. But like
Yeah.
the way that they were able to capture everything, and if you need something that looks dark and rich and like it's like blacks and browns and stuff like that, he does that so well
Yeah.
because he is the perfect match for Denis Villeneuve because he really can capture this richly dark look to a film that I think he really did perfect with some of his Coen Brothers films like Fargo. And then it just goes big scale when it comes to his work with Denis Villeneuve, especially with Blade Runner.
Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, it's like you're almost seeing color for the first time every time you see one of his movies.
Mm.
I am obsessed with The Village, but as you were talking about that, I am just thinking about like the yellows and the reds in
Yep.
that. It's just
Hmm.
incredible. And I do have to say, in 1917, it's a scene you mentioned a few minutes ago, the like nighttime flare scene. I think you brought up. That's
Yeah.
my like reference footage scene if I'm ever showing off my TV. When I first got my TV, I put 1917, and I was like, I have to see that scene because it's like the lighting is so insane and like the orange, it's just
Yeah,
oh, it's incredible.
absolutely. Anything else that sticks out to you specifically about Deakins?
Really, one last thing. I don't know entirely what his title is on this series, but he has a pretty big part in How to Train Your Dragon, those three animated movies. I think he kind of did like a visual consulting for them, and he would, take a look at their shots that they were planning and give them suggestions on the storyboards and things like that. So I think he has a pretty significant role in the how those movies look. And I mean, they look incredible. They're like some of the best looking animated movies ever. Like when you just think about the flying scenes. Um,
Absolutely.
so it doesn't surprise me when I see his name on the credits for those movies.
That's something special too, because I don't think a lot of people pay enough attention to like, well, the cinematographer's job is literally to, take the cameras, do the lighting, making sure that everything that's going on in that frame is delivering what the director's envisioning. And, sometimes if you're that great of a cinematographer, they kind of let you
Hmm.
kind of take some control of that. But like when it comes to animation, a lot, especially with like hand drawn animation, it's a bunch of hand drawn frames and stuff like that. It's not, and like you take shots in front of the frames and like you string them together and then they move. And then you have like with computer generated films, it's like the computer is the camera, and you have to be able to figure out exactly how that's all going to frame. And I feel like someone like a cinematographer is probably not thought of that much in terms of that, but somebody
Hmm.
has to be able to like come up with the shadow and the lighting and the framing of everything. And so like How to Train Your Dragon, they're so gorgeous. The
Yeah.
scale is incredible, the colors are incredible. Something like Rango, which like is such a weird movie.
Hmm.
And I absolutely love Rango.
Yeah.
And it does not shock me that Roger Deakins shot Rango, because there's so many impressive shots in that film with like just the use of shadows and lighting and everything like that. And the fact that he's versatile enough to take that and go into animation, because like I feel like I don't know if he's ever worked on a stop motion film. That would be pretty cool. But like
Yeah.
stop motion animation, like you're literally recording those things on camera. So
Hmm.
like you need a cinematographer to be able to do those kinds of films. But I think just in general, like my big wrap up here is he has obviously he's worked with such a variety of people, but he's worked with some of the most significant filmmakers of the past couple decades. Like the Coen brothers films are almost synonymous with his look and what he brings to them. Because, like I mentioned, their first couple are shot by Barry Sonnenfeld, who was a friend of theirs.
Hmm.
Like, they worked very closely together. They're all friends with Sam Raimi, uh, and early on in like the '80s and stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty sure even the Coens worked a little bit on Evil Dead
Mm.
in terms of like the camera and the running of the literal running of the camera in
Yeah.
that, when it was like the deadites flying through the air.
Mm.
But like ever since Barton Fink, he worked on every single Coen Brothers film for the most part until Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
And you could tell Inside Llewyn Davis has a different feel to it.
Yeah.
And even so, like now he hasn't worked with either of them. Uh especially like he didn't work on Tragedy of Macbeth, or he hasn't wasn't working on Ethan's new film either. But that relationship, and then Sam Mendes, just he shot some of his most gorgeous films, Skyfall, 1917, and then what he's done with Denis Villeneuve with Prisoners and Sicario and Blade Runner 2049. Um, and obviously he has a great eye too, because he gave lumps of praise to Greg Fraser, who
Yeah.
worked on Dune and also shot The Batman. And
Hmm.
even Deakins was like, I should be getting nominated when you have The Batman.
Yeah.
And that didn't even get nominated for cinematography, which that's a travesty. My
Hmm.
God, that is a gorgeous film. But just he has such an eye for cinema and working with so many great filmmakers, and really he's become such a fixture. And cinematography isn't one of, like, I'm going to call them the sexy Oscars. They almost took it off the show, which
Oh yeah.
made me super mad,
Hmm.
because it's one of my favorite categories. Because if you really love the art of film, cinematography is such a big part of it. It's literally the camera work.
Yeah.
Like, it's what makes it a film. It's a camera. And the fact that he got nominated 12 times before he finally won.
Yeah.
And, there's only a handful of names in modern cinema that even get mentioned regularly about cinematography, whether it's Emmanuel Lubezki, um, I guess Robert Elswit, who
Mm.
does all of Paul Thomas Anderson's films. But,
Yeah.
like, you see Deakins on there,
Yeah.
you're in for something special to look at, even if it is Empire Light.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He is like the one cinematographer that I feel like even people who don't know any cinematographers will know. He's like a name that people recognize at this point, which is kind of crazy. I mean also other directors too. He worked with Scorsese on Kundun, and
Yes.
Ron Howard seems like he shot A Beautiful Mind, which is not what I realized he shot before today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean,
Yeah,
just a lot of great people here.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm just looking. Well, we already talked about Shyamalan. Um, I'm a huge fan of Frank Darabont,
Sure,
and
of course, yeah.
and I'm surprised he didn't do the Green Mile.
Mhm.
I wish he did the. Can you imagine The Mist shot by Roger Deakins?
Yeah.
Because love that film anyway. And boy, if you want to get emotionally messed up,
Hmm.
go watch The Mist. But
Exactly.
basically, what we're telling you is Deakins is the best, and I know I absolutely love Deakins, and it doesn't look like he has any films on the horizon,
Yeah.
which sad. Um, I don't know if, like, he's retiring or he's just taking a break, because he's an older gentleman at this point, so
Yeah.
like he could retire happy. He won his two out of his last three nominations at the Oscars. He's made some of the greatest, done some of the best cinematography work ever.
Hmm.
So, well, we'll see if he makes any more. But if he is, I'll be 100% down to just look at how gorgeous it is.
Oh yeah, he could have retired in like 2000 and he would have been good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it looks like he's only made, I think, 3 movies in the past 5 years, so he's kind of slowing it down. I mean, I guess you have to if like some of those movies are 1917 and Blade Runner 2049. It's like,
yeah. There were probably some, like, big time commitments.
yeah.
And also COVID. COVID
Hmm.
happened. COVID was a
Yep.
thing too.
Fair point.
So we shall see. But Foster, thank you so much for coming on and talking some Deakins with me.
Thank you for bringing me on. I'm sorry about my stuffy nose.
It's all good. I also have congestion. It's that time of year. I
It
love
is.
fall, but I don't love how it makes me feel. But
Mm.
thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.